think that we are live on Instagram too. Yay! All right. Hey, we are live. We are live. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. And happy 2021. Wow.
21.
Crazy. We made it. We made it. So I am super excited. I want to thank everybody for jumping on. If you're here, give us some hearts. Share this with anybody. If you hear something, you think, hey, somebody's got to hear this. Please share it. And I am so excited to get to speak with a new friend of mine. We met through the Les Brown Power Voice system through a group in there, and we got connected, and I saw some things that Lisa G was doing, and I was really drawn in. So Lisa, I thank you so much. I'm honored to have you here. So if you could tell us where you're from and a little bit about you.
A little bit about me. So there's not a little bit about me, but currently live in Atlanta. Well, I say Atlanta, Georgia, because people don't tend to not know the actual city, but I'm in a town or city called Marietta, Georgia, which is 20 miles or 20 minutes outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And a little bit about me, in a short sentence, I'd say I'm a vessel of love, and I'm getting more comfortable in walking in that way. And so everything that I do, whether it's on the fun, the personal side of my life or in my business side, is just all about raising the vibration. And that's the short version of me.
I love that. I love that you said that, because that's the first thing that, when we chatted really quickly this morning. I'm hoping that I'm streaming this live on Facebook or on Instagram right now, and I titled it "Raising Vibrations with Lisa G." So because I really, yes, I love that, because I think, that is what raising my own vibration is something that I've been learning to do, and beaming that out to other people.
Absolutely.
I think that's what we're here for. That's namaste. Yeah, absolutely. So, and learning this year to put energy into myself. And I think that's what, I was telling you, the first thing that I was drawn to, you were talking about doing a plank challenge.
Right.
And I'm working on that myself. It's so easy to get out of taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
So that's one of my big things. So, when we were talking this morning, I was saying what I really wanted to focus on this year is, maybe tell us a little bit about what you did to get through 2020, and how you're harnessing the power of what you learned to go into 2021 and to help to bring other people along with you.
Right. So 2020 caught all of us, I don't know if I should say off guard, because we kind of saw the rumblings, right? I don't know if it was late 2019, but you kind of, depending on how you are in terms of paying attention to things, there were a little bit of rumblings of something going on. And then, early 2020, and then all of a sudden everyone's kind of looking like, what's going on? And coming from Caribbean parents, or maybe it's just my parents, and having traveled the world, there's a different way that we look at things. And so I'm very good at reading writings on the wall. Of course, you hope for things to be something else, but human behavior is human behavior. That's what I always tell people. Many things are unpredictable, but the collective human behavior is one thing that I think will always be predictable. And so with all the unknowns that were coming on, I kind of figured, all right, I know what I don't want, but there are close to 8 billion people and I don't have control over them. So just go with the flow. And I paid attention to things. Of course, like everybody else in the beginning, I was consumed. And I've now been telling more and more people how I called one of my friends and said, we're all going to die. And he said, we're not all going to die. But I didn't want to be in that place. So very quickly, because that's the kind of person I am, and I shared some of what I've gone through in the last 10, 15 years, I started pivoting. At first, just for my sanity, because I couldn't be overwhelmed by the world's pressure. There was all these things going on. Of course, a few months later, or maybe a few weeks, depending on when you saw the pandemic coming, we had the protests and the heaviness of that. So there was a lot. And I just didn't want to be consumed by it. So I pivoted again, first for sanity. And then I have a now almost 19-year-old son, and there's family and there are other people. And in general, people tend to look at me as one of the positive people, one of the stronger people. So even though in the past there were times when I rejected that role, I knew that people, we all should accept the role that we have. And like I said earlier, I'm a vessel of love. So I knew people were looking to me, whether or not it's said. Some people do say it, mostly in private, how I'm one of the stronger people. So I knew I had to get it together because I was going to be one of the people. And again, I rejected that title, but I was going to be one of the people. So I pivoted and started taking care of myself. And the taking care of myself part, I learned about a few years ago about how really, even though we've heard about putting our mask on first, we're not really taught to do that in the society, especially women. We're nurturers and mothers and, whatever. We're not taught to really put our mask on first, even though we're told to. But I was going to put my mask on first because I've learned that I needed to. So it was a lot of self-care, a lot of taking care of me, and then everything else just fell out. And how that's pouring into 2020, I learned a lot. You and I talked about being in Power Voice. We're both still in there. And that's a journey itself. And the decision, I jumped, and that's a story too. There's a lot of stories, but I jumped and joined Power Voice. And once I joined Power Voice, there was a lot of jumping. And then by extension, I'm part of another group called Thinking into Results. And so there's a lot of firming up and getting stronger and having a different attitude. The person that I was in 2019 moving into 2020 is a totally different person moving into 2021. I'm very confident, very excited, and I'm just jumping like a nut, jumping. So I'm very excited about 2021. I don't tend to separate years. That's not me. People jokingly talk about how I say, the humans, look what the humans are doing. I don't do timelines. Even though we have calendar years, I don't really live by that because my body doesn't recognize years. That's what man came up with, or I should say woman, that's what women came up with, but there's no timeline. So 2021 is just a year, and it's just the continuum of time. And I'm just going to keep moving forward, enhancing myself and making sure that my impact is solid.
I love that. I love that, Lisa. It's funny. We have a lot in common. You talked about not paying attention to numbers, and now you're talking about years and ages and dates. And I'm the same way. I just, I struggle to remember. I don't think about my age, my husband's age, even, my our grandkids' age. I'm like, I can't keep track of that. It keeps changing.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting that, and then talking about making yourself better. I was listening to, oh my goodness, I wanted to remember if Iffy McCall, I think, did you hear Linwood? Yeah, Linwood Wilson did a really great interview on January 1st. And Iffy McCall was talking about, what are you going to do to upgrade yourself? I love this. He put it this way. He said, if someone for Christmas gave you an iPhone 5, you'd be like, what is this? What? I mean, because you've seen the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 12, and you've got to have it, and you've got to upgrade your car and your wardrobe and, all these things in your life, and to not take the time to upgrade yourself. Right. And then he got into, I love this. He said, maybe you feel like people don't want to hang around with you anymore. They don't want to associate you. But he said, if you're an iPhone 5,
right?
That's why they don't want to associate with you. So that was really interesting. And I agree with you. I love the connections that we've made through the Les Brown course. I mean, Les Brown's term OQP, only quality people.
Yeah.
So relevant there. So tell us more about what you're doing now. I know you're speaking on a number of platforms, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about your group.
So I Crush Goals is one of my companies. I did a lot of restructuring last year. And so it started up as a group, and then I decided go ahead and, take care of the formal structure. So I Crush Goals is a group. I started in 2019 with the intention of motivating people in an environment that was where we can be vulnerable and have authentic conversations. And I'm one of those people, I have a feeling that you're one of those too, who listens to the messages from the universe. And so at the time, I'm always busy. That's my attitude. I'm always busy. So why is the universe giving me one more instruction? But I listen to it with the intention of not with reducing the number of regrets that I have. And so I said, all right, I'm going to go ahead and form this group. I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing. Now I know about how not being your business. And so I formed it, and very quickly the people started meshing. And within the group, again, we have vulnerable conversations. We encourage each other to celebrate small wins, which is really big, because I think society's changing now. But before, it was overnight success, which there is no such thing, and I don't know if you've ever seen the picture with the iceberg and how it shows all the things that you do. Yeah, right. Yeah. Right? And so overnight success is not the thing. And then YouTube sensation is another thing. And, there's other things that kind of show like you start here and then you're over here, which is absolutely not the truth. That's one. And then two, when you celebrate your small wins, it builds confidence, and it lets you know that you're doing something. And so I believe people, and I encourage people to celebrate small wins every single day. And the thing about small wins is that they're created. We don't just happen across small wins. If you were going to have a win, then you have to create it. So you should know that you're going to be celebrating a win because you're creating it. So there's that kind of conversation, and it's beautiful. And right now, I think there are about 50 something people in there. And as you can see, I'm smiling. I'm so proud of what they're doing. Some of them are in Power Voice, and hopefully you'll see you too. And so that's I Crush Goals in a nutshell. And we call ourselves ICGens, and it's the ICG universe.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You were talking about the iceberg, and I felt like I cut you off. So I just quickly drew. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
That's what Lisa's talking about. The iceberg, that's the success you see above the water.
Yeah.
And that's all the failures and struggles and
rejections and tears.
Yes. Yeah. And oftentimes, and I always like to tell people when I talk to people, when I share with people, I'd like to tell them where I came from. I was telling you, if you had told me a year ago that I was going to be doing this, when my business coach first suggested that I do this, I was like, I got sick to my stomach. I just, and the first time I did it, I just, as Les Brown says, he says, when I stood up, my brain sat down. That's what happened to me. Right. So, it just, and doing it and growing and getting outside your comfort zone, that's where all success and magic happens.
Mm-hmm. Has it been a year yet for you? Have you celebrated a year anniversary of doing this?
Yes. Well, you know what? Let me take that back. It's going to be a year. Okay. It'll be the end of this month. And I'll have to look that up to really. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that, celebrating that this was a year, of doing this. So great idea. What's that?
So let me know when it is.
I will. So what have you learned, like, in all that you've been doing? What's the biggest thing that people don't know about you that they should know? Like, what do you sometimes wish people would ask you about yourself?
Wow, now that's a good question. Wow, that was good. I've done a few interviews, and okay, that was good. What would I wish people? I'd like people to ask me how I'm doing and really hear the answer. In general, there's I think it was a poem or a quote that I saw that said something about when you ask people how they're doing, do you really hear the reply? So that's one, because I think it's just when we say formalities or whatever the other word is, we've taken that to a seriously crazy level. It's just, do we really want to know the answer? Because everyone can't be good or okay or blessed. And that's what people say. They say all these things. And if that's what you are, that's cool. But I don't believe that's what everyone is. And so if a person gives you that real answer, are you prepared to engage? Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of times, and I've seen it happen where it's another person responding to another person, or even me, and a person's looking kind of, and there's that polite look, and it's almost like they want to say, I this was not supposed to be that, you know? So I would like for people, not everyone is, not putting that on everyone, but, let's just have, because I'm one of those people who would like to be present. So when you ask me the question, really, really, really want the answer, and whatever it is, let's rock with it. I'd like that. And just kind of tie with that very quickly, just being a strong person, there's an expectation or that you don't really need other people. And there are times when strong people need other people. And so when that response is given, depending on what kind of day it is, we might need to listen. So there's something I want people, not every single person. So I don't want a whole bunch of people asking me tomorrow how I'm doing, but, ask me the question and really
listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I just recently I've had a few people share with me some difficulties that they've been through, and I've been able to say, my typical response, well, my response in that situation is, I thank them for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
And I let them know that I appreciate them being vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think we have to do that. I mean, if we all, like you said, it's great to say, I'm great and I'm grateful, or I'm fantastic, or never had a bad day. If you're, if you're saying that, I guess for your own head, but when it's not true, and when you are struggling, I think it's important to let that out, to not make other people feel that they're alone in their struggles.
Yeah. And communication is not just the words too, right? It's body language, it's eyes. I'll just very quickly tell this story. I'll make it short. There's this woman, we were doing the pleasantries. Hi, how are you? And she said, I'm great. And her voice was so high. It's like, I'm great. And I was thinking, And that was my opportunity, and I took it. And so I said, you don't look great. And she's like, no, I'm great. But, we were a part of this organization. So I saw her enough and felt comfortable enough to then challenge her nicely. And I said, you don't look great. And then her shoulders dropped. And she's like, Lisa. And then we ended up spending the next 35, I promise you, maybe even 45 minutes talking. And she made a promise to herself. And she said, from now on, when people ask me, I'm going to give the truthful answer, And that's kind of what I mean. And I don't know if I would have done that with someone I didn't know as well. Not that we were best friends. We were actually really just acquaintances. But just reading her body language and her voice, we can tell. And that's communication to me. The other stuff is not. I don't know what we want to call it, but it's not communication.
Yeah. You just brought up something that made me think of something in my younger days when my kids were young. A good friend of mine she was struggling, and the more she struggled, the more jovial she would put on the outside. She put on this armor of just, so upbeat. And I'm thinking to myself, now I wouldn't let her get away with that.
Right.
And I think that there were times then that I was just like, I knew, we talk, but I didn't call her out and say, hey, let it out. Don't put on this super hyped up, happy persona, because we all struggle. I really believe, like we were saying earlier, I really believe that we are here to lift each other up, and I'm so blessed. I've got, the group, the Les Brown group, but I've got a group that I've been working with prior to that is with, I get to work with such extraordinary people who support each other, lift each other up, applaud each other, celebrate each other's wins, and I think the more that you get around people like that, the more you attract it.
Yes. That's the village. That's the village. And I've been saying this for years, but not as much as I have now. I want to say 2020, but of course it's 2021. But it's as if we found each other. More of us found each other last year, with the Power Voice and TI, our group, in terms of like-minded people, because I remember within the last 3 or 5 years, I always whisper to the universe, and I said, there has to be, there just has to be other people out there, because there are people that I knew and still know, and there were some things that were the same, but just they had to be more like me, and I know I'm pretty cool. And there are a lot of positive attributes about me and things that I didn't have to shut down. In society, there are just certain things, the vessel of love and other things we were taught to kind of pipe that down because that's not cool. You have to harden up. I was in corporate before, you had to have a harder dexterity, I was told, and I rebuked that. And that was one of the first times that I said, there has to be other people out there like me, and I'm going to find them. Now, I didn't know how this was going to happen, but here we are in 2021 celebrating probably, I think I joined.
Oh, you froze for a sec there.
August, and here we are, so that's what's almost 7 months, depending on when you joined. Yeah.
Yep, I think that's right around the same time that I joined, Lisa. What you just said, I'm like, I got goosebumps. That was so powerful, that that you knew that people were out there and that we would find each other.
Yeah.
Like that. That's just I really feel like one of the really powerful things that has come out of this difficult time that we're all living through is that we've been forced to wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've been forced to find each other, and blessed to find each other.
Yeah.
So it really is cool because how many people were, I was already using Zoom when I was working in like coaching classes. But now everybody can use these platforms to connect with each other. And yes, there's that physical, of course, there's the physical connection that isn't happening right now, but there's a really profound connection happening all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all realizing how much more alike we are than different, and I love it.
Yeah. I've been very careful. I know there are a lot of people out there that wanted to throw 2020 away. I wasn't gonna throw it away. I've had enough challenging things that happen in my life to just be okay with challenging things happening. First of all, that's life. I don't know what movie or what time in anyone's life where they've only had good things. You know what I mean? That's just not life to me. It's just one day you're going to cook the rice and it's going to be cool, and another day you might burn it. That's just how it is. So we don't want the things that are not as positive because it's harder to swallow, but they happen. So whatever the thing is the thing, I'll just say very quickly, like I had a cousin that died of cancer when he was 17, and we watched him die. It's just, and the same thing, I just saw the writing on the wall at some point, and I said, if he's meant to be here, please have this turnaround and have him be okay. But if he's not, it's okay, because he was suffering, and this was, we were young, and it was hard. And God, it was a hard period, but it's okay. Just go. And so he's been gone. And, I've gone through things like that. I'm sure we could swap stories about things that you've gone through as well. So saying that to say, so when 2020 was happening, gosh, if we were to be able to pick, we'd pick different things, but we don't have that option. So I could not embrace the attitude of throwing it away, because that was not going to serve me. Instead, I just was okay with whatever, and then rejoiced about the great things like we talked about with the group, the people that we found. And there are so many things that happened to me and for me in 2020 that I would not want to give away. So if I was to throw it away, then I'd have to throw those parts of 2020 away, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And since again, we can't pick it.
Yeah. And I really I agree with you, and I embrace what the things that have happened for me with sensitivity to the loss that so many have, so many have suffered.
Yeah.
And I feel so blessed that I went into this year having put energy into myself prior.
Yeah.
And I feel like that helped me to have this year not knock me down, not shake me emotionally, my health is at an optimum level. My emotional, my head is in a good space. I've got a good mindset. So I'm really thankful for the coaching that I've done
Yeah.
prior to this to get me there, so that I was in a good space going into this year
Yeah.
and going into this new, I feel like we've got really exciting times ahead.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
that's the way I choose to look at it, and I choose to be very careful about what I listen to too.
Yeah.
I'm a guardian of what goes into my head too. So,
That's part of the diet.
yes,
Mm,
yes, absolutely.
yeah.
Well, listen, if people would like to get a hold of you, so we've got your crush
I crush,
goals.
yeah, that's I crush goals. Yep.
Yeah, and then I've got and then your Carpe Diem is your other Carpe Diem and stuff is your other group,
Yeah,
right?
carpe diems and stuff. Yeah. And
Okay.
I'll quickly say carpe diems is a play on carpe diem, and it's pretty much covers everything we've talked about. How are we able to choose the day if seize the day if there's the weight of things preventing us from fully doing that? So carpe diems is a play on that. So it's carpe diems and stuff. So you have to say it, Peg. Carpe diem.
Carpe Diems and stuff.
Yes.
Did I get okay. All right. Well, Lisa G, this has been such a pleasure and an honor. And I thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, everyone, for hopping on tonight. And if you'd like to get a hold of Lisa, you've got her two groups right there that sound special, really amazing. And I will be in there for sure.
Yeah, and you and I have
Oh,
to talk
for
again.
sure.
I enjoyed this a lot. I've done a few interviews, and this has been enjoyable, Peg. Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much, Lisa. Thank
it
you.
was filled
I'm
with
I
so much
am
soul and spirit. Thank you so much.
I am humbled and honored.
I am as well.
Thanks, everybody. Have
Bye.
have a happy evening. Bye bye. Bye, Lisa.
Bye.